few days ago, Hamas has released another video of a hostage that is still in Gaza. Now, the family of the hostage has allowed, first, I think they allowed a portion of the video to be released, and then I think they were okay with the whole thing being released. We won't play it here because this is part of Hamas propaganda, and I don't think we should try to fuel it. So I try to avoid. I'll try to avoid talking about the video itself as much as possible. But I think the reason why we need to talk about this circumstance is well, one, how much time everybody is giving to it, two, some of the reactions to it, and three, basically the sort of the difference of how pictures of suffering Palestinians and pictures of or videos of suffering Israelis are viewed as or used as. Welcome to today's episode to the Daily Objective. Joining me today is Alex. And Alex, before I go to sort of the points I want to bring up, do you have some of your opening thoughts?
Um, I agree with you. But not sharing the videos. Of course, it's part of a wider, psychological terror campaign, um, which I believe does work. Uh, it's a video really that's intended, I think, for an audience of one. It's really meant to go straight to the families, and from there supposed to terrorize, understandably, right? They're supposed to go out there and terrorize the government, because it's their loved one. You totally understand them. You know, I mean, come on, if it's your child or whatever, it's not even bearable to think about. So any, criticisms that I'm making about the reactions is, aimed at the strangers. It's absolutely not aimed at the families who, are have been are continuing to go through hell, um, and are, continuing to be terrorized by this vile, disgusting organization. I can't even imagine what they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, can you check your connection of the microphone? It's sometimes it's a bit robotic, as if like it's not fully plugged in. Um,
Uh-huh. Okay.
but yeah, sort of the first thing I want to bring up is yeah, I mean the fact that how good Hamas is at creating propaganda and how good the West is at both giving a voice to it and also helping to spread it. Because yeah, I mean the fact is that I mean Hamas knew, Palestinians knew they would never be able to win in an actual war against Israel. That was never the goal, but it was always about basically winning the propaganda war, winning, if you want to even say sort of like the moral war. The fact that Sinwar has said that Palestinians, that children are good. This is helping the cause. This is
Mhm.
what will advance. This is what will give us advantage. And the fact is, I think I'm not sure if this was today or yesterday, but the current sort of it's hard to talk about Hamas leaders, but technically, a Hamas leader has said that they've just won the recognition of the Palestinian state by committing October 7th. And this is exactly right. So, and
Well,
yeah,
not
you can,
really,
yeah.
because, for them, no, because they may recognize a Palestinian state, but, they would recognize it with the PA at the head, okay, who's, I assume, or some other, group. So, I mean, they're an insurgency group. They're not exactly built for governance, especially, govern. I mean, that whole thing is just, yeah, it's actually unbelievable. But have they won? I don't know if they have that kind of long-term planning.
Well, talking about if Hamas will survive, Mahmoud Abbas announced election, which technically Hamas could participate in. Now, in
Well,
practice,
there,
they
yeah,
most
sure, why
likely
not?
will not. But I'm wondering if, depending on when it happens, I don't think an official date was announced, although I think it was said that it would be by the end of 2025. It would be interesting to see if Hamas runs again, and what would the world do if Hamas wins another election, as they did back in 2006.
I mean, I think that elections are very important for the Palestinians because I think that they do need to choose their fate, right? They do need to pick what it is that's going to happen here because, I mean, which direction are you going to go in here, right? I think I feel that there may be a time of reckoning, and I'm not sure when that time is actually going to come because here you have an entire population of people who went from working in Israel, receiving, European style salaries to basically having zero opportunities and being plundered in a dictatorship. So, and then on the other side, they're seeing people living in Gaza, living in plastic tents, right? So there may be a decision that you may, think, are we are we a political movement? Are we an idea? Or are we, right, actually serious about what it is that we say? And are we willing to live with the consequences of our decisions? Because the Palestinians have never lived with the consequences of their decisions. So in that sense, I feel it's very important for them to have elections.
You mean important for them as in what do you mean by important for them? Like for
It's
them
important.
for them like
Yeah,
internally to think that
no,
okay, this is
well,
actually what we picked,
okay,
or for
yeah,
like the rest of the world that
no,
basically no, they
no, no,
picked
no.
this.
I think it's very important. I think that there will be amongst the if it's a real election, there will be amongst the candidates, shall we say, some reformers, okay, some people who I actually quite like, I have to admit. And there will be, of course, in there all of the rest of the psychopaths that we know. So, it for them to make a decision which way they want to go. I think that that is extremely important here because now you have, you know, um, Israel has helped the Palestinians create a dictatorship. And they're part of that dictate, we as Israelis, we are part of that dictatorship. We protect that dictatorship. We help that dictatorship remain in power by empowering its security services. It's facilitated completely by Israel, right? So we are, in a sense, part of this, police state, right? And I feel that change, whichever way that change goes, I feel that it's needed. Either you completely descend into chaos and we go, to war with each other, right? In a sense. Okay. Or you go down another path. Which way is it going to be? And I think that they've never lived with the consequences of their decisions. So I really feel now's the time. Now's the time.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to sort of like living with consequences, it is correct. Like, just think about it. They've committed October 7th, and the world still thinks two-state solution means returning to 67 borders. We are like
Hmm.
going back, what is that? Like 60 years going back. And yeah, even after October 7th, right? When it comes to, it's not like any aid was shut down. They've got access to pretty much everything throughout all of it. And yeah, it really does seem that basically no consequences ever happen. Um,
Hmm.
Now, sort of to bring up or sort of like try to go a little bit back to the propaganda and specifically the psychological warfare Hamas is doing, because they are like what they're doing to the hostages is actually insane. Like the hostage that the video was currently released on, he was the same one that we've seen a video of him basically when few months ago when some hostages were being released. Hamas, or it might have been Palestinian Islamic Jihad, because I think Palestinian Islamic Jihad
Mhm.
is holding this one. They've had him and one other hostage in the car watching the other hostages being
Yeah,
released. Now,
yeah.
this is like insanely crazy. The amount of suffering you want to inflict on this one individual,
Is
again, with the
it, I
perp.
mean, come on, is it more crazy than kidnapping of whatever? What age was an 8-month-old
But yeah,
baby crazier than kidnapping a 3-year-old on her own? Crazy in any event. I mean, come on.
this is
If
kind of
we're
on par.
surprised by this, Daniel, I think that's on us.
Yeah, but yeah, and sort of to bring it to bring like the separation of how people look at it, right? When it comes to sort of suffering Palestinians, it's on Israel, right? Israel has to declare a ceasefire. Israel has to let in humanitarian aid. Israel has to end it. And when it comes to suffering of Israelis or Israeli hostages in Gaza, well, it's Israel's fault. Israel needs to commit to a ceasefire. Israel needs to get them back. Again, as you've earlier said, I've read some of the articles about comments from the father of one of these hostages, and yeah, it's like if it was somebody that
Yeah,
close to me, like
yeah,
I
yeah,
would like I would destroy nations, right,
yeah,
to get somebody back. But yeah,
right.
the amount of the sort of the sphere that now is surrounding the hostages, that is trying to basically just use them
Hmm.
for political gains, to basically
Hmm.
end this war, to basically end the ceasefire. Um,
They're
yeah, I mean,
picking them
yeah,
carefully as well. They're picking the hostages carefully as well. I mean, they're not picking the hostages they're not picking the hostages whose families are against, right, a deal.
because there are
Of
some, yeah,
which yeah, there are, and they're public, very public. So they're not picking those ones, okay, because they know that it's not going to work. I think that they know that they're not going to go and, like pressure the government in this regard. They're going to say, no, get them back from, military pressure, or, I mean, this is literally what they're saying. So they're picking them extremely carefully. They're obviously very tuned in to what is happening in Israeli society. Um, but it's the the way that Macron he spoke about it, I love. He said we need to do what we have to do to get the hostages back. And then in the same sentence, he said, and then get to a two-state solution. So in his mind, he genuinely thinks that those things are connected. Does he really think that the reason that the hostages were kidnapped is because, you know, Oslo 4 and 5 were not implemented? I mean, Oslo was implemented in Gaza, right? It quite literally was. I mean, Gaza was a Palestinian state. If ever there was one, it was Gaza.
yeah, and
So,
just to clarify, not even like Gaza wasn't even like they given to the Palestinians by negotiation or by anything like that. It was pretty much, hey, we're out. We're out. We unilaterally just disengage. We do not want to deal
mhm,
with. We'll force our own people who are there to get out. We almost destroyed the synagogues that were there just to not offend Palestinians, or maybe on some level I could see the justific or sort of the way people viewed it. But it was just given like, okay, take it. We will not negotiate. You can do with
mhm.
this whatever. And again, it still wasn't enough. And of course, it wouldn't be
Of course
enough
it
because
wouldn't be enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
because the goal is not the Palestinian state.
yeah, under no circumstances. But I mean, that I feel is particularly cruel. But Macron is not the worst one. I mean, really, I think the worst one is Keir Starmer because, Keir Starmer's one is saying to Israel, stop the war, okay, but or else, right? But not saying anything to Hamas. So, Hamas just have this incentive to just keep the hostages. Yeah. You're gonna get what you want anyway, bro. I mean, that one is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think
And
just quickly, I think Hamas has recently said that basically they will not disarm even if there is a deal. So
Mhm,
they're like this is straight up like making fun of the West. Like they're saying,
mhm,
yeah, yeah, we can get a deal. We won't give up arms though. We will continue holding on to them. I mean, it's straight
mhm.
up laughing and spitting in the face of every Western leader, and the Western leaders are basically
Yeah.
waiting for it or allowing it to happen. Like they're not doing anything when it comes to Hamas.
And I find that just so perfect coming from the French. I mean, after what the French did to the Middle East, I find it, really you're going to stand there and finger wag after the disaster that was made in Lebanon and in Syria, right? That disaster, we're still living with those consequences to this day. And to really just sit there, I mean, it's quite ironic that the two former colonial powers of the Levant are standing and finger wagging, right, to us, is just it's the cheapest and easiest thing for them to do was this, you know, like just the easiest thing. Oh, we'll just, demand a declaration because it's so totally meaningless. I mean, every country in the world could declare a Palestinian state, but if Israel doesn't recognize it as such, then what does that mean? So all of that time and effort and diplomacy that they've wasted on this endeavor, okay, they should have put it into trying to convince the Israelis that it was a good idea. The Palestinians should have done that. Think about that instead of wasting all of this time, money, everything into trying to make the idea of Palestine a real thing in the West. You invest that in Israel and you say, you know what? No, we're gonna go to the Israeli people and try and convince them that this is in their self-interest, right? The Israelis know a good deal if we're presented with one, right? But no, because it's nothing to do with nation building. Because obviously, if you were genuinely interested in nation building, then you would want to have recognition from the Israelis because they're the only people actually that count.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to sort of, yeah, it's almost to a fault the how quick Israel is to basically get a peace with any nation that even blinks
Yeah,
or
thanks.
it winks
Anybody.
winks at them.
Syria,
Like yeah,
we're sluts. I mean, I mean, Syria looks at us nicely. We're like, hey, can we come to Azerbaijan and chat with you? Saudi Arabia, maybe wants to have a little, fling with us, and we're like, oh, Saudi Arabia, we love you. We want to be friends with you. It's like obvious that if we were, given a good, if they came and presented their idea, they need to sell it to us. Okay, so if they came to the market with their idea, and their idea is a Palestinian state, sell it in our market, you know, and let's see. You might take you years, but eventually the Israelis will come and buy it if it's a good deal, if it's in their self-interest. They absolutely will. I know that, right? If the the embassy that they need to build is actually in the hearts of the Israeli people, right? That's really what it is. But no, that investment is real. And when I say that, I mean that investment is time, it's effort, it's a earnestness. That is too much. It is far easier to go to the United Nations and just get up and just talk crap, you know, and it's especially kind of performing to this peanut gallery of dictatorships and the former colonial powers. Who the hell cares what France thinks? You know, it is almost kind of, there is a sadness to it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, please love me, recognize me, right? I find that the same actually when Israel does it. It's it's sad, it's pathetic.
Yeah, by the way, I think Palestinians already have an embassy in Haaretz, as you've said.
Yeah, but you know
It's
what
a
I'm
pun.
saying. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
it's what I mean is like, you know, you build a you build an embassy like in the in the lives of the Israeli people, you know, like a symbolically, like, you know, psychologically, you put representatives on the ground who speak Hebrew and you try to make it happen.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
like
yeah,
something, you know.
just to jump in, what always works in Western nations, and I think Israel is included, it's never violence. It's always non-violent resistance that has made change in the West, like the civil rights movement, right? Whenever civil rights movement was violent, that's when it was failing. It's when you had the pictures of basically police cracking down or
Mhm,
on the groups. And in a similar, if Palestinians were truly peaceful, as the West tries to say, right? It's all these peaceful
mhm.
Palestinians and Israel just killing children all over the place, just randomly, uh, because because they're diabolical Jews, of course, so they would do that. And it's yeah, it's such a, like, if the West really I want to say like cared for the Palestinians, but like, yeah, like the fact that 67 borders are still like that's the starting point. Like
I
if
know.
Israel denies it, then it's like not even a question, right? And that's like such an unrealistic thing. Like of course you're gonna go to violence. Like what else would you do? It's such a, and people even, 67 borders for some people are sort of those people are basically calling for like 500,000 of Israelis to get out of Judea and Samaria or so. So
I
yeah,
mean,
I mean, like if there was, but I don't want to talk
even
because
from the
Palestinians.
perspective, imagine, sorry, but like, imagine you're a Palestinian. You get all of your roads, you get all of your infrastructure, you get everything, okay? Overpasses, highways, you know, tunnels built by you, by this, you know, by these other people, right? From their, you know, we could talk about the privatization of roads, but right now it's public, okay? From their money, and you don't need to do crap. You don't need to do anything. You know, you're just, why on earth would you want them to leave, right? If you leave, you're going to have to do all of that stuff yourself. Have you ever seen their roads that they've built inside of their cities? I mean, like, these roads have not been paved like since the British mandates, you know, it's like really, but it just, why would you want that? It is the, I mean, it is the dumbest thing, I have to say, isn't it? Really, like, oh, okay, let's have all of these people who are, you know, actively building our infrastructure, you know, building factories, giving us employment opportunities. Let's get them to all bugger off, and then everything's going to be hunky dory. Yeah, well, great. It's absolutely not. So, um, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
and some Palestinian representatives or local representatives understand it, right? We had that episode where we talk
absolutely.
about the sheiks in, was it in Hebron?
Well, I mean,
Who said
yeah,
like
okay, fine, there's them.
the number one thing was, okay, but please, can Palestinians go work into Israel because there's no work here. We cannot do
Hmm.
anything here. We are not productive. Can they please go to work in Israel so they actually have some productive capability?
And also there is Samer Sanjawi, okay, who's a former, I think he's still part of Fatah, but you know, gives a makes a good he makes a good argument, I think. And is, I mean, you know, like, he can definitely make a convincing, you know, argument with it with Israelis. And he's all the time. He speaks to everybody. He's always on Channel 14 and Channel 11, you know, is doing an active campaign to make his, you know, to make his point to the Israeli people. If you maybe you want to believe it, maybe you don't. But I mean, that is like to suggest that Abbas is it's either Abbas or Hamas. I think that it's not true. Um, and I don't, I do see us going in the direction us. I do see the direction going to be in some kind of statelet thing because like somebody from Jenin and somebody from like Hebron, these guys have it's like they've nothing to do with each other, right? They don't like we're imagining it like somebody from Liverpool and somebody from Manchester, right? Like they're basically, it's the same people. You're really it's this is a clannish society that only marries inside of the clans, right? And these clans have like wars with each other. There's different like social norms, different I mean, this idea that you have to have, one thing and everybody's, the same group or whatever, it's not, it's so Western, it's so nonsensical because it's never gonna, I don't know how long it would take to actually, like, you see that idea has been was cocked up as like, by a bunch of Westerners, by a bunch of Israelis, actually. There was the Israeli defense establishment that first had the idea for the two-state solution. So it's not sociologically, it's not based on in reality. Um, because it's not a natural thing. And we keep trying to, it's like we keep trying to force the square peg in the round hole. We're just forcing it. And it's never going to be like that. And I find as well that it's the two-state solution is the perfect solution to suggest because it can never work. So if what you want is to never, ever, ever solve this problem, then you have to keep on pushing the two-state solution, right? Like I always say, Israelis are very smart. I believe Palestinians are very hardworking and resourceful. I think that definitely this is an issue that can be solved. I think that it can be. It's not going to be solved by a two-state solution, that's for sure. But it's just if what you want to see is perpetual conflict and for this never to be solved, then you need to, insist on a two-state solution.
Yeah, I'll just mention one more thing on that. When it comes to sort of the demands, right? Another demand is like the right of return. This topic of this episode has changed much more differently.
Oh,
But
sorry.
the right of return, like of 8 million Palestinians to Israel proper. And it's like, like what people who are talking about it, what are you even trying to say? Like you're clearly just want this to
Mm.
go on forever. Like you don't care
Yeah,
what will happen. You just want,
yeah.
yeah, 8 million people go to 10 million nation. Why not? We'll see
Mm.
what will happen after that. But I'll bring in because I wanted to mention that. I mean that this quote kind of inspired this episode, so I should mention it. It's from Piers Morgan. He posted this on X. He said with relation to the video that was released of a hostage. He said, it's interesting that all the prominent pro Israeli voices on here who refuse to believe any Gazan casualty numbers published by the Hamas run Palestinian Health Ministry accept the veracity of hostage pics videos posted by Hamas without hesitation. Any comments on that?
Who was that again? Sorry,
Piers
who
Morgan.
did that? Piers Morgan. I don't even know what he's trying to say. It's like, what's he trying to say? Is it like word salad?
I think the implication here is that pro-Palestinian, pro-Israelis who don't believe the Hamas numbers are quick to believe this video
No,
that
but
it's
we
real.
don't believe the video. That's the whole point. You know what I'm saying? We recognize that the video is actually like a staged video of somebody with a gun to their heads. So, this idea that we believe the video, I mean, we believe our lying eyes, yeah. I mean, we believe that is the hostage and he's being filmed. But beyond that, no, I'm not really I don't really know what he's trying to make. I mean, he's just, I have no idea. I
Yeah,
have
I
no
mean,
idea. He's such a
and
useless person.
yeah, it's the least you can say about Piers Morgan. I think, yeah,
Mm.
his coverage when it comes to Israel, especially because he's viewed like the pro-Israeli technically, right? He's like the one who is calling out the evil of Hamas, and he is bringing on people, bringing on pro-Israeli people to talk. And he did the cry, after October 7th. He was a pro-Israeli, but now his patience is running out. There's too many dead people now. So, but he's still pro-Israeli. So,
I
I
have to
mean,
admit, he's a very smart person. Piers Morgan. He is an extremely he really understands media, and he absolutely understands how to get an audience. So it's the whole thing about him, am I pro-Israeli? Am I pro-Hamas? Am I pro this? It's just a dance. And he's definitely winning. I have to say he's definitely winning. I don't know, he's winning his game, I would say. But he lacks, yeah, as somebody's saying, lacks wisdom. Yes, lacks integrity, moral clarity. But again, this is a guy who used to print pictures of that were taken when people were lying on the street looking up women's knickers, taking paparazzi photos. Okay, so he is a gutter journalist in his heart, and he is continuing to be a gutter journalist now. Just he's a bit more of a I would say he's got a bit more of a profile now as a gutter journalist. Okay, he was less known as a persona.
yeah. So to sort of start wrapping up this episode, yeah, when it comes to sort of propaganda that Hamas is releasing, it shouldn't be. Today we actually did a study group on Leonard Peikoff's "A Picture Is Not an Argument." So I recommend people becoming a member so they can watch the recording. With the main point being that, yeah, picture doesn't give you the context, the knowledge you need to basically talk about the whole situation. You can see
Mhm.
the picture of a suffering hostage, you can see the picture of a suffering Palestinian. That doesn't tell you anything about what needs to happen.
Yeah, it
Alex,
doesn't tell you anything. And I think it's even a mistake. At the very beginning of the war, we made a point of not circulating the videos of hostages. And now you just see that it's just, apps because it is terrorizing. Of course, it's terrorizing. It's intended to be terrorizing. When I first saw it, I felt physically sick, to be honest. And but it didn't have the desired effect because now, I mean, I feel that, of course, I feel we should not give any aid to these savages. I feel as well that we should be extra tough. Even, we've been playing cat and mouse up until this point. I would like to see Gaza. I mean, I feel Gaza maybe should be parking lot that can deal with a little bit of the overspill from Tel Aviv. And they need to stay. I think it's very important for them to stay and for them to endure the hardship, because I feel that that will, that is a necessary, they've never lived with the, consequences of their actions. So I feel very important for them to live through the consequences of their actions and eventually surrender. I feel all of these components are immensely im immensely important for the continuation of the Israeli people.
well, and with that, a bit more positive topic, the Irreplaceable Spark Conference is a conference Ayn Rand Center UK is organizing later this year, October 25th, 26th in Orange County, California. And we just have a few new speakers that we have announced, so make sure to check out objectivism.co.uk to learn about them. Thank you, Alex, for joining me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of The Daily Objective and The Reality Show. Bye bye.